Right now at 11, Mount Pisgah's reopening is inching closer and closer as city and park officials have been hard at work trying to get debris cleared. We'll hear how avid hikers are feeling about the reopening. But first, we're getting an inside look at what LTV drivers go through on a day-to-day basis following the district's latest controversy involving a pedestrian this week. We have that story and more as KEZI 9 News at 11 starts right now.
Live, local, late breaking. This is KEZI 9 News Breaking News.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously with 5 votes for.
Tonight, the Eugene 4J School District has announced Dr. Andy Dye is leaving the district at the end of this year, leaving the district to look for a 4th superintendent in 4 years. Thanks for staying up late with us tonight. I'm Ariel Yakabazi. The district board accepted Dye's resignation, but he will stay on as a consultant with the district through the end of this year. Now, the district board accepted Dye's resignation, as we just said. They also approved the search for a new superintendent. You might remember Dye was appointed as 4J's superintendent in June of 2022 after a lengthy selection process and started working in the position in July of that year. Dye's appointment came after several back and forth accusations of unpleasant workplace conduct from Dye and other candidates for the position. Now, during his tenure as 4J superintendent, Dye was an integral part of 4J's leadership as they looked for a new administrative headquarters, handled other controversial personnel, and recovered from January's devastating ice storms. Now, tonight, some community members showed their support for Dye during public comment session during the meeting.
We've raised 2 boys in this district and experienced several superintendents. And during Andy Dye's time in this role, I've observed many improvements in schools, like schedules aligning, innovative content and programming. Communications are way better for parents. There's social and mental health services in schools that didn't used to be there now.
KEZI 9 News did put in a Freedom of Information Act request for the investigative report that looked into allegations of discrimination and retaliation brought forward by an employee against Dye, but we were denied that request. And we've got lots of questions for the 4J School Board tonight, which we were unable to ask. So we will be following up with this all day tomorrow, and be sure to tune in on KEZI 9 News this morning. You can see all of our stories surrounding the 4J School Board and how we got to this point on our website, KEZI.com. In other news, tomorrow, President Joe Biden will address a joint session of Congress in the annual State of the Union. There will be a handful of political leaders and guests, including one member of the Milwaukee Police Department.
I don't think anybody wakes up and wants to be a drug addict or homeless. It really goes back deeper. We're looking at mental health, we're looking at trauma, we're looking at childhood, we're looking at access to affordable housing.
Now, Glenn Suchanek works for the department as a behavioral health specialist, and he's going to give a speech as a guest of Republican Representative Lori Chavez Duramer. He's been working with law enforcement for years, helping with diversion programs meant to avoid unnecessary arrests and help those battling addiction.
I don't think anybody wakes up and wants to be a drug addict or homeless. It really goes back deeper. We're looking at mental health, we're looking at trauma, we're looking at childhood, we're looking at access to affordable housing.
He's also the deputy director at Love One, a Clackamas County nonprofit that works closely with homeless people. Now, because of the State of the Union address, our newscasts will look a little bit different tomorrow. KEZI 9 News at 5 will air as normal, followed by World News Tonight with David Muir. You'll be able to watch ABC News live coverage of the address starting at 6, and we'll be right back later in the night with KEZI 9 News at 11 o'clock. Tonight, we're learning more about the latest legislation aimed at pulling back on Measure 110 and recriminalizing drugs here in Oregon. Tonight on Nightline, correspondent Asan Singh delves into the overhaul of Measure 110 and the legislative efforts around the crisis of fentanyl addiction in the state. Here's a preview.
An Emerson poll taken last year found that 64% of Oregonians supported rolling back part of the law, and 56% wanted a total repeal. A sentiment many Republicans in Oregon's capital, like Kevin Mannix, share.
The voters of Oregon were misled about what path we were going down. And it's our job to get us back on the right path. Right now, if a police officer goes into a park at 3 in the afternoon, there's kids playing in the playground and someone's lying on the sidewalk, obviously under the effect of some hard drug, the officer can stand there and write a $100 citation and hand him a phone number and say, "Have a nice day."
Democrat Kate Lieber is the majority leader of Oregon's state Senate and one of 110's original supporters.
In your mind, was ballot measure 110 a mistake?
No, I don't think I'd go as far as to say ballot measure 110 was a mistake. There are pieces of it that need refinement. Ballot measure 110 has significantly increased access to treatment, and I think that that was something that was sorely needed.
So last week, Lieber led the charge in rolling parts of Measure 110 back in Oregon's State House. The governor is expected to sign the new bill into law, which would mean that starting September 1st, police must either directly place drug users with treatment providers or bring them in front of a judge where they will be put on probation. Repeat offenders receive longer probation sentences and eventually may have to serve up to 180 days in jail.
One day after we showed you viral video of an LTD bus driver slamming a pedestrian's phone to the ground, the transit district announced today it's cutting their services. But LTD says the driver's actions have nothing to do with the reduction in service. It's due to an overall shortage of drivers. While job stress and driver safety are front of mind, Bill Bradley with the union representing LTD workers says it's not the only thing they're thinking of.
We're talking about the working conditions, the schedules. An operator schedule is a very difficult schedule for a lot of folks to wrap their heads around. They work split shifts, so they might have to work at 5 in the morning, work till 9, be off for 3 hours, and come back for another 4 hours.
And Pat Walsh with LTD says the passengers feel the reduced services. So what's being done to get out of the shortage?
We are aggressively recruiting for new bus operators. We do have to replace the folks that are retiring and also the people that have left already. So we know we need 100 bus operators. We have a really strong campaign going now. We've got a class of 10 that will be graduating soon, and then we'll go into the field.
If people are interested in job opportunities with the transit district, Walsh says they can visit rideltd.org for more information. And you can watch this full story on our website at KEZI.com.
Now, your Storm Tracker 9 First Alert Forecast with meteorologist Holden LaCroix.
Clear skies across the region today allowed us to get up to near 50 degrees, mainly sunny this afternoon, but those same clear skies are actually going to allow the temperature to plummet overnight tonight. Expected to dip back down into the upper 20s across the Willamette Valley, but you can actually still see the same area of low pressure that brought the snow to Roseburg a couple of days ago, still hanging out down across the spine of the Sierra Nevada. But our main pattern focus is this high pressure. Again, it kind of moved inland yesterday, and that's going to be the culprit for the very cold night tonight, but also the clearing skies tomorrow afternoon and into Friday. We're expecting mainly sunny skies on Thursday. Cloud cover will try to stream back in for Friday, but for the most part, we're going to be talking about a clear next couple of days. That is until this weekend. So again, temperatures will bottom out at around 17 to as low as 15 degrees for areas like McKenzie Bridge, Oak Ridge, and out towards Blue River. But as we kind of move toward Thursday and Friday, the afternoons are going to be noticeably warmer. Even you folks out toward Oak Ridge will likely be very close to 60 degrees on Friday. Kind of soak up that sunshine because we are kind of tracking several storm systems lining up in the Pacific right now. And we'll break down who's exactly going to see the rainfall amounts coming up later in the newscast.
Next week, Mount Pisgah Arboretum will reopen to the public nearly 2 months after the devastating ice storm. Park leaders want the public to know that things will never be the same after this storm. But with help from dedicated volunteers, the cleanup is almost done. KEZI 9 News reporter Noah Chavez spoke with members of the community who are eager to return to the trails.
Mount Pisgah means a lot to me. Love walking there. It's like my escape.
Soon enough, the nature park will be once again filled with the sound of shoes on gravel. Nearly 2 months of cleaning, repairing, and volunteering has helped Mount Pisgah prepare to reopen to the public next week.
I've had to take a few trees down since the ice storm and climb up into them and remove widowmakers. I can only imagine the nightmare of insurance and liability that Pisgah would have to deal with.
I think people should be prepared that it's going to look different. It's not the same place that they were at, prior to the ice storm.
Executive Director Brad Van Apple has helped care and operate the park for 15 years. In that time, he says he's dealt with whatever nature throws at him. However, the ice storm was beyond anything he could have imagined.
Never seen anything like it. We've had ice storms before and snowstorms and floods and fires and everything else. But this was by far the biggest impact we've ever seen. You wouldn't have been able to walk through here when the storm first happened. This would have just been full of trees and debris. And thanks to the volunteers and the contractors.
Adding to the headache was downed transmission lines that loomed overhead. Van Apple says utility companies had to bring in heavy machinery to make repairs, which left a major mess behind.
That was a lot of work for them to deal with, and they had to bring a lot of heavy equipment up and down some of the most popular trails to do that. Well, we're looking at basically a debris pile that's off the trail of all these trees that came down, most of them incense cedars, some Douglas firs in here. And this is kind of what much of the park looked like.
But volunteers and organizations came out each week to bring the park back to a more manageable state that wouldn't have been possible without them.
And not being able to be there, it just it's drained me emotionally so much. I'm so thankful for the work of the volunteers out there.
Just as staff have been awaiting the reopening of the park, neighbors say they're also ready to return to their beloved nature park, as they say the wait has been a tough one.
It's kind of like how after COVID, we almost got back to normal. It's kind of like that, the return to normal again.
We're stoked.
Yeah, we're super excited. We love going over there.
Yeah, we love going over there. We're about to have our first baby this summer, and we're just excited to go for walks and carrying in stroller and just enjoying. Well, it's there to be enjoyed.
Staff members say they know the park will always mean a lot to the community, no matter its condition. And although it may look different from now on, the good memories still remain.
That helps them connect with the natural world again and find peace.
Reporting in Lane County, Noah Chavez, KEZI 9 News.